So, hello and welcome back to the Unforced Error. Here we are on the eve of Wimbledon 2023, and we are back here to try to break it all down for you. We're 3 weeks removed from a wonderful French Open, but now we've moved to the grass court season, which will come to an end at Wimbledon as well. So that's why the summertime is a really packed schedule for all the players. And of course, the third major of the year, hard to believe that's the case already, and probably the most prestigious of them all for a lot of people. Wimbledon comes to mind when they think of tennis and the summertime, the kind of all white dress code, the strawberries and cream. And if you think your favourites throughout the years, or a lot of people's favourites, they remember watching Borg and McEnroe and Federer in more recent times, and they associate that with Wimbledon, and Djokovic more recently in the last few years anyway. So we're onto a new surface. We're probably still talking about some of the same players, for better or for worse, but there's definitely a different element to it. The ball is a little bit lower. It seems to travel lower on the grass course, and there'll be kind of less rallies. So some players are particularly strong in grass, like they are in clay, and not so much on other surfaces. So that it makes it all so much compelling. But yeah, happy Wimbledon Eve. And as I said, the draw was done on Friday. The media day is done, and the talking is nearly over after another 10 or 15 minutes here. And it all begins tomorrow on the outside courts of GMT time. It usually starts around 11:30 and about 1:30 then for the show court. So good news if you're working during the week and stuff like that. I know a lot of listeners probably are, so you'll still get to see a lot of tennis if you rush home in the evenings to see as much of it as possible. And the middle Sunday will be played as well. That wasn't always the case at Wimbledon as well. So yeah, we'll talk about the women first, and then we'll talk about the men, or should I say the ladies and the gentlemen singles as they're called at Wimbledon. So quarter one in the women's, Iga Swiatek, world number one favourite for this tournament, reigning Roland Garros champion from 3 weeks ago. She's taking on Zhu, which is a tough first round for her. We got Trevisan, Tormo, Fruitova, Martic, Lynette Teichmann, who are playing each other. Danielle Collins, Belinda Bencic, Azarenka, Williams, Svitolina, Kennan, and Goff. So there's a few. This is quite a stacked quarter. Even though Iga won't mind her draw, it's not the easiest first round, but it's after that she won't be grimacing at the look of her draw. Two amazing first round matchups here: Williams and Svitolina. Venus Williams now, not Serena, unfortunately, and Kennan and Goff. Kennan just came through the qualifiers there as a former Grand Slam champion. So that's an amazing All-American affair. And Svitolina, who played so well in the French Open, has rediscovered her form after being away for some months, and she had a child and she's come back. Is playing really great tennis. And Venus Williams, who defies all laws of age, who's in her early 40s now, and is here purely for the love of the game, I imagine, and wants to squeeze out every last drop of energy that she has towards this game. So that's great to see, and it'll be a treat for anyone with tickets tomorrow to see her on grass. Every time we see someone like that, we should relish it, because you don't know how long it's going to. But that'll be just a great matchup and a very high profile case for the first one. So yeah, absolutely stacked. We'll talk about Iga in a few minutes in terms of her chances. Quarter two: Pegula, Davis, Buxa, Samsonova, Kudermetova, Vondrousova, Donna Vekic, Fernandez, Volinets, Garcia. I feel like the ones I'm mentioning, I always think of the ones to watch out for in each quarter. The list seems to be getting longer and longer as we learn more about the current form of players throughout the year. Jessica Pegula, obviously, inside the world top 10, probably hasn't featured in majors as much as she would have liked, and will look to have a great run here. Americans have had a good run historically here, and it'll be interesting on the men's and the women's side to see which Americans go far and how far indeed they go. Donna Vekic has a great game for grass. I think she's going to be one to watch out for. She's had a great season already and playing very solid tennis, and has always has a liking for the grass, and I just think her game is suited towards it. So it'd be someone to watch out for her. And Caroline Garcia, hard to know. Probably very good grass court player, and probably won't have the pressure that she has at the French Open for obvious reasons. It'd be great to see her make a run through into the second week as well, and has an all right draw, a neutral draw. The Wimbledon app are doing a kind of calculation base with AI technology and stuff like that. The degree of everyone's draw, so that's an interesting. It's worth having a look. It's a pretty cool feature if you get a chance. So that second quarter is up for grabs. A lot of top quality players there, but it is probably up for grabs if someone finds a hot streak. Third quarter is the quarter of death, or the hardest quarter, by a bit of a margin for me. Ons Jabeur, Andreescu, Kalinina, Pliskova, Kvitova, Haddad Maya, Ostapenko, Rybakina, and Rogers. So where do you begin there? Ons Jabeur, runner up last year, will want Wimbledon more than life itself, I would say, at this stage. And it'd be great to see her. I think that's an amazing story, considering where she comes from and what she represents and how she carries herself. I think everyone would love to see her win, and has a great grass court game, probably her best surface. And just her style of play on grass is absolutely sublime to watch. So if you get a chance, do yourself a favour and put her on, because watching her play is a really beautiful thing on grass. And it'd be interesting, some players were talking about the surface, how, I think Andy Murray was talking about how at the start, even at the start of 2 weeks, because it's only played on a couple of weeks a year, even at the start of 2 weeks, the courts are in pristine condition. There'll be a different element to them throughout the end of the second week. So, but the likes of Ons Jabeur's, drop shots, if she can disguise them, are going to be absolutely deadly on this surface. Great to see if the Ukrainian Kalinina, we've talked about her in the lead up to the French, be great to see her do well. Would really has a tough draw, but is so tough and has shown such resilience this season. You wouldn't put it past her to make it in through a few rounds. Pliskova, Kvitova could be a serious threat on grass. Has a great grass court game, very experienced journeywoman. We talked about her earlier. Has had some wins this season, a real threat. So has Haddad Maya, who's played great, has had a wonderful French Open, has broken into the top 10, has an amazing grass court game as well. So every indication says, for me anyway, that she will make it in a few rounds. Ostapenko, great defensive game, needs a bit of help in some areas of her game, but her defense will garner her a few games in at least, and gives her time to work to try and push the gas on her serve a bit. But a really great player to watch and someone to look out for as well. Then the reigning champion Rybakina, hard to know what level of fitness she's at or how she's feeling coming into this after dropping out of the French Open. But reigning champion, if you had asked me in March, I was already thinking about Rybakina for Wimbledon, considering she's probably playing better this year than she was last year, and she won it last year. So another, I think she's built for grass. Her best all court game and her timing and her all round game, I think, is made for grass. But it depends how she's feeling. She's had a bit of sickness recently, so we hope she's okay. And if she can make a run in, it'll be interesting to see how the big three fare out. Last quarter then, Sakkari Kostyuk, who always gets a very tough first round. Madison Keys, who won on grass last week. Andreeva, Krejcikova, Mukova, Georgie Blinkova, and Arina Sabalenka. Sakkari Kostyuk can go either way. Great first round matchup. Madison Keys, as I said, has just won. A tough draw for that. Krejcikova, Mukova, who just made the final in the French Open. Really think she's going to go far. She's always been good on grass, has found her form, found her confidence. Now, can she recover mentally, and the attention that's been put on you when you reach a Grand Slam final? But I think she has more than enough capabilities to be able to handle that and make a run in this tournament. And then, last but by no means least, Arina Sabalenka at the bottom of the draw. Who knows with Arena will favour herself to go far, as will the other of the big three. So the talk again is about the big three, and rightly so. So Rybakina and Sabalenka are on their same side. So if they all going well, they'll meet in the semi, and Iga will be on the other side. But who knows? Who knows? Can she recover from that disappointing loss in the semi-final of the French Open? Wasn't at Wimbledon last year. Russian and Belarusian players were banned last year, so she's talked about how tough that was. And she's, I suppose we haven't seen her on grass since she kind of has rediscovered and got through her troubles last year. So it'll be interesting. A lot of unknowns, there always is. Iga is a favourite, rightly so. If Rybakina was fully fit, I'd be putting the house on her, but I'm not. So really interesting. Lots of contenders, and look, we hope for a great tournament. Hopefully, the tennis takes over. There's a lot going on outside. Some players are dealing with a lot for different reasons, but hopefully we see a great tournament. WTA announced a few weeks ago, obviously, as well, that they're looking to bring in equal prize money for tournaments across the board by 2025. The prize money is equal at the majors and has been for some time. But it isn't unfortunately in across the board. So that's good news in the WTA world there. We'll move on to the gentlemen's singles then. First quarter, Carlitos Alcaraz, as Zverev, de Minaur, Tiafoe, Rune, any of them could four out of five of them could win it on a given day. Alcaraz seems to have handled the disappointing game against Djokovic in the French very well. He won on grass at Queen's last week. Looks supremely relaxed in his press conference. And look, we don't know. You never know with him. It's on a bit like Seven. It's on his racket. Can he keep that movement up? Is the question for me. You know, his lights out style of tennis. Can he do it for 7 games over 2 weeks? And can he do it against Djokovic? And we'll only potentially find out in the final this time, as they're at opposite ends of the draw. Zverev's great on grass. He'll make it through a few rounds, no doubt. Tiafoe should go. Fancy him to go far here. Tiafoe and Fritz, in terms of the Americans, and Sebastian Corda, and maybe Tommy. So there, you know, I've mentioned half the Americans there. I think the Americans are going to do well here. I just think there's a great kind of pushing each other on, and I think even wanting to be the best American will drive those guys on as well. And I don't think Tiafoe has grown a lot in popularity and can still entertain and still go a little bit under the radar here. And Rune is great on grass as well and is a real threat to anyone on this day. Quarter 2, Medvedev, who I think would be a great threat. Cerundolo, Tommy Paul, Cameron Norrie, Eubanks, Corda, Shelton, Murray, Tsitsipas against Dominic Thiem. First round matchup again, and they'll pass the winner that would potentially play Andy Murray if he wins. So that again, that's another mouth-watering contest there. Tsitsipas, it's hard to know. It always is hard to know how far he'll do. I feel like he's been written off in this tournament, and that's not necessarily fair. If he can figure out what's missing, he's going to win a slam, and he's at a stage in his career now where there's pressure on, as we've talked about before, with the younger generation coming up. He appreciates Wimbledon. I'd say it's as a historian or someone who appreciates the kind of history of the game. He knows how big Wimbledon is, and will want it as much as anything. So wouldn't put it past him. Daniil Medvedev, I think, could make a semi-final or final as well. Had a disappointing French Open, disappointing Australian Open, but is in great form, and if he can get on a run, he could win it. I don't think it's unreasonable to think he could win it, or get to a final at least. And if you remember, when Djokovic was going for the calendar slam the last time, he was the man to beat him in the final. So he doesn't falter under pressure. If he can adapt to the grass, he says in the press conference he's liking the feel. He got here a few days early. He's liking the feel of grass, and so it'll be interesting to see that. Third quarter: Yannick Sinner, Schwartzman, Altmaier, Evans, Nishioka, Taylor Fritz, Shapovalov, Ruud. Again, take your pick. Sinner went well here last year. Had a great match with Alcaraz. Taylor Fritz, I fancy to go far. Has a great game for the grass. Tall players with a good all-round game, decent serve, can back it up and can kind of punch out the points with power. I think are great on grass. Then we go to the final quarter. Rublev, Baez, Nick Kyrgios has just pulled out earlier this evening with a wrist injury, unfortunately. Bublik, Aliassime, Isner, Hurkacz, and Novak Djokovic. Novak Djokovic, for me, is as much a favourite as he ever has been coming into Wimbledon. Sorry, not Indian Wells. We're far from Indian Wells. He's won it the last 4 years now, and I don't think he's ever been as much as a favourite as he is now at the age of 36, which is a credit to him. And as I said, he's leading the Grand Slam race now. He's also, I think, will have the calendar slam in his mind as well, and is probably stronger on grass than he is on clay somehow. It's very difficult for any of us to see how he will be beaten, and but despite that, anything can happen in this game, and anything can happen in majors, and Alcaraz has a serious chance of beating him. We haven't seen him have a real go at him yet. We saw a bit of a preview of the first set in the French Open, but Alcaraz can get at him, Medvedev can get at him, Tsitsipas can get at him on his day, Tiafoe maybe. On his own side, it's very hard to see. I'm looking around and I'm not seeing any potential. So I think it's intriguing, his mindset. Is he going to use the calendar slam to really stamp on it forward now? But because he's ahead now, there's no Nadal here, obviously, so he's going to be ahead for some time now, no matter what. Does he get complacent? I don't think that's possible. But yeah, as clear as a favourite, and that's his credit to him. But there are guys that can beat him, and it's going to be interesting to see if anyone can get close to him, or if they beat them, how they beat them, and if he's putting pressure on himself to go for the calendar slam as well. And anything can happen in this game. So that's it. As I said, there's two clear favourites, and they deserve to be clear favourites, but there's a lot of people on their day who can beat them. So that's it. It all kicks off tomorrow. Let's enjoy it. Staple of the summer, as I said. For a lot of people, Wimbledon is the one they know the most. If you don't follow tennis year round, I think a lot of people still throw on Wimbledon. It's just something about it, and a lot going on in the world. A lot of distractions, etc., etc. But let's turn on a bit of tennis. Let's eat some strawberries. Let's enjoy and take it all in. And I have the utmost respect and admiration for every one of these young men and women putting it all out there for us to enjoy. So that's it. I'll be with you during the week to recap how we're getting on, and I hope we can all enjoy it. Thank you very much.